There's a saying from my childhood that I used to be told a lot. Come on, kid, pull down your pants so we can see you're really a boy. That and Windows is better than Mac for gaming. But I doubt most people watching know the reason behind it. Here's the short answer. Believe it or not, in the 80s and 90s, the Macintosh computer was the go-to for gaming due to its impressive power, but shied away from it due to the concern that it would cheapen the professional image. But when desktop gaming began to explode, Microsoft pumped a lot of money into DirectX and forced DOS-based games to be ran on Windows, forcing Apple to pretty much give up. But unlike myself, this video isn't about failures. It's about the grossly summed up history of Windows. Now, while earlier versions of Windows existed in development, the first operating system named after cooked sand was Windows 1.0, released in 1985. This was released as a competitor to Apple's early operating system. Fun fact, Steve Jobs died from PC. I guess you really do attract what you fear. Gates knew that there was a market for affordable personal computers. For reference, here's the starting price of the Apple Lisa. Windows offered pretty much the same tools and programs at a slashed price. Turns out Gates would have a knack for slicing things in his future. You don't need to know much about Windows 2.0 and 3.0 because it was all in all the same thing and you still couldn't watch internet porn with it. Windows 95 succeeded the earlier versions but was still made in a time before Bonzi Buddy. Lucky bastard. The main selling point of this version was the ability to run 32-bit programs and go to websites such as Match.com. That's right, people were now getting laid thanks to a website that looks like this. Windows 98 in essence was the very first time this OS had support for multi-monitor configurations. This meant that the height of technology in 1998 was popping in a CD of Ace Ventura Pet Detective while chatting with strangers in AOL chat rooms. It's possible that I'm doing the same thing 2 decades later. Now, before we get into Windows XP, let's make a pit stop at Windows Millennium Edition. Windows ME was like playing PUBG on the original Xbox One. With buggy programs and performance issues, this OS was doomed from the start. As the predecessor to Windows 98, it was still based off the MS-DOS kernel but lacked backwards compatibility. Suffering from an impossible deadline, this version served as the bridge between the 95 era and the soon-to-be Windows XP. This shiny new OS presented itself with a brand new look and feel, much like Grand Theft Auto 5 on the new consoles. Just kidding. This OS was installed on the computers of every Jerry and Jane on the block. It still takes me back to my formative years trying to install Roblox on my dad's HP Pavilion, not to mention the timeless default background shot by Charles Arrear. I would do unholy things to that man. I'm afraid it's time to move on from simpler times and into the world of Windows Vista. You could call this version the unfinished template of what Windows 7 will be, or, as I like to call it, the personal hell of millions of people. Vista came into view as the revamped and visually appealing operating system to supersede Windows XP. While the visually appealing aspect held up, the average computer didn't. Imagine that Microsoft released Windows 11 with the system requirements of Forza Horizon 5. Many PC users remained on or downgraded back to XP solely for this reason. Windows 7 was the operating system of my childhood. Having the same transparent interface as Vista, you couldn't beat performance plus visual appeal. 7 was designed to be an incremental upgrade rather than the bundle-packed devil Vista turned out to be. That's it. 7 was just a really good operating system. Okay, moving on. I know at the beginning I said I wouldn't include 8, but there's just so much to talk about. When I say so much, I mean one thing: the start menu. Everyone hated this flat-tiled garbage. It was almost as Microsoft hired Flat Stanley to design an operating system. The mistake they made was too many abrupt changes all at once. Users were more than comfortable with the start menu being contained in a small window in the bottom left of the screen. So imagine the surprise they got when you went to click this unassuming button just to get flashbanged by the paint selection wall at Home Depot. Nothing was safe from this change. Every system menu you went to looked like it was drawn on construction paper. While a lot of Windows 8 was carried on to 10, this change was too abrupt for many users who decided to remain on 7 until support ended or they bought a computer with 10 pre-installed. You heard me right, Windows 10. Don't ask me where Windows 9 went. Finally, a polished, clean, and appropriately timed release of the next generation of Windows. The public's reaction to this release was, it'll do. Which, if we're being honest, was a big improvement over the reaction that Windows 8 got. With the return of the start menu, Microsoft finally succeeded at developing a suitable successor to Windows 7. Although, if you ask me, people still prefer the former, which leads us to the present 6 years later with the most refined Windows OS yet. But hold on, as of October 5th, 2021, we've had Windows 11, with a new taskbar and start menu. Microsoft really can't let that start menu be, can they? But if you ask me, this new OS resembles Ubuntu more than anything else. Oh well. Oh yeah, and the return of widgets.